Fire Talk, where we give you the latest news, all the incredible updates on Southeastern University athletics. I'm Kent Ingle, president of Southeastern University, and joining me as always, our amazing athletic director, Drew Watson. And today, our special guest is Paul Kurtz, our men's and women's cross-country coach. You both doing well?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, that's excellent. Big football weekend. Yeah.
So speaking of football, I've known you for 12 years now, and sometimes I feel like I can't nail down what your favorite NFL team is. So who is it?
Okay. I really have three.
Okay.
In my young years, I fell in love with the Denver Broncos. I tell you how long ago that was. Morton was the quarterback. So,
wow,
we're talking way back.
Yes.
So, we're talking 50 years ago, 40-some years ago. But so I've always loved to follow them. And I know it was an embarrassing Sunday for any Denver Bronco fan.
That was rough.
70
points.
That's crazy.
Game.
I'm kind of ticked that they ran it up like that. They knew that. Yeah.
Well, they did kneel. They could have kicked a field goal to tie the NFL record at 73 points, but they
still.
did not. It's funny. I was in Denver. On Sunday through yesterday.
Okay.
So I was at a conference, and second, let me address the elephant in the room. Yesterday was not a good day.
Yeah.
And he made it clear that as president, he has nothing to do with who's on the field or the coaching decisions.
Yeah. No.
It's just us. But he did a great job. But
it was
day.
Tough loss. And they're 0-3 already?
0-3.
0-3, crazy.
Yep.
But and then of course, the Rams, the LA Rams. I covered them when I did sports in Los Angeles, and then fell in love when I was in Seattle at Northwest University. The Seahawks. Went to a lot of Seahawk games. So those three I kind of follow a little bit. The Seahawks actually, their practice facility was on the campus of Northwest University.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of cool. You could watch, some of the workouts. And, it was pretty neat. But
I think
I'm not an Eagles fan. But and I'm sorry about that.
That's your loss.
But I did interview back in 1980. They came right off the Super Bowl. They didn't win it that year.
They did. The Raiders beat us.
Raiders beat, but Dick Vermeil. I interviewed him. He came to Bakersfield. I had just started in sports and had a chance to interview him.
What a great interview.
I know. It was like, man. Yeah. So that's my little tie-in to Philadelphia.
Okay, well, that counts.
Yeah.
But I think it's incredibly intelligent for you to have three NFL teams because if two are doing
right,
poorly,
exactly.
you always have someone to root for.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't think all of them are not really doing Seahawks are okay right now.
The Rams had a good start, and they played that. So if the Seahawks play the Rams, which happened in week 1,
I know. It was tough. It was tough. I was like, who do I just enjoy the game, and whoever wins, I'm happy.
That's good. Good.
What about now? What's your team?
Well, I grew up a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, but I wouldn't
okay.
say I'm necessarily that big a follower these days, especially because they're not very good. But NFL is not my biggest love anymore. I just think there's way too much hype in the NFL. But my son's a big Buffalo Bills fan. I lived in Rochester for 20 years, so I'd say I'm probably more a Buffalo Bills fan now, because they were terrible when we first moved to Rochester, and now they're actually pretty good.
Oh, my gosh,
so.
to watch Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I feel bad on Sunday. I spoke at Highland Park, and I trash-talked the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I was there.
I felt. I said, I pray for your pastor because of his sports teams. Who wants to follow the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah. It's rough right now.
So,
Wait, maybe it's time to introduce a new segment on the show. Rate the message.
That's pretty funny.
I thought it was very good. I was just telling Drew, it was a very good message.
Well, I know you're an avid listener of to this show, which we appreciate. But we like to start off with getting to know you a little bit. And so, can you tell us a little bit about your family, and then where were you before Southeastern, and what brought you here?
All right. Well, I'm married. I have 4 kids. They're all out of the house now, so I actually am an empty nester, I guess. 3 of them are out of college, and my youngest son just started at Biola University in California.
Wow, that's great.
And he's looking to do film and that kind of stuff, so it's a good place for him to be.
Yeah.
We came here from Rochester, New York after being at Southeastern. See, I get mixed up.
Yeah.
Roberts Wesleyan was where I was at for 20 years before I came here. never thought I would live in Florida. I always said that would be the last place I'd want to live because I don't like running in the heat. But God has a sense of humor, and here I am. So,
Yeah.
Well, so funny thing when Paul visited campus, I had been here. I was in my first year as women's basketball coach, and the AD at the time, and I still do this with coaching candidates as well. Set Paul. The candidate talks to a current head coach, and so we sat down in Mikasa and just talked about life, and we ended up crying, and it was just a really special time. And I felt like I got to know you before you even stepped foot on campus as the cross country coach. So
it was a very touching moment.
Yeah. And this is season 12? Right for you.
It's crazy.
So talk a little bit about the changes maybe you've seen in yourself, but also in the program over these 12 years.
Yeah, well, when I first came here, we didn't have cross country. I was the person that started the program, and I didn't get hired till I think it was almost July. So really not much time to recruit or anything like that, and literally walked onto campus and just started asking kids that I saw running if they wanted to be on the team. Wow. So it's definitely evolved from that. Which the crazy thing is we weren't that bad the first year, and I was lucky enough to get a few good runners to come in last minute as well that were recruits. But that's the biggest thing is now that the kids that are here are obviously kids that have been running in high school that are people who love the sport and want to see themselves get better. And we're still, I think, evolving and we're getting athletes now because we've done so well the last 4 or 5 years at the national level that actually want to be a part of a national level program and not just necessarily people who just want to run in college. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the biggest change I've seen is just the caliber of kids that are coming and the people that are more committed to the sport, not just because they like to run, but because they want to be a part of something that's happening that's good.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, you talk about like to run. Okay, so the 26.2 and the 13.1 stickers in the back. I'm a 0.0 type guy. And I've been to many cross country meets and love getting out there and supporting you guys. But as a non-runner, I'm standing there at the finish line, and student athletes are crossing the finish line immediately. Some of them doubling over and losing their stomach contents.
Yeah.
And so for the non-runner, like there's a lot of non-runners probably listening to the show. Like what is it about running when you've got to go through the stuff that I just talked about that makes it something that's attractive?
Honestly, there's not a whole lot. It's not a fun sport. It's a really tough sport to do and to train for, and a lot of it is that the feeling you get when you're done, obviously, is something that you're proud of yourself, that you put yourself through that torture and that you were able to push through and better your time. There's a lot of self-gratification that comes from that. Most runners are very intrinsic type people. They don't care about the rewards as much as the fact that they were able to beat their time or beat somebody that they've been trying to pass, for years or whatever. But I think that it's just a sport where the team atmosphere of it is a huge part of it, to have a group of people that you are knowing that they're doing the same things that you're doing, putting that time in. Here we get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and run before most people are getting out of bed. And just knowing that those kids are all doing the same thing and you're all working for the same goal and you're all putting yourself through that same torture. This morning we had a really hard workout, and I mean, they were laying on the ground afterwards, and they're going around picking each other up and telling themselves each other good job, and that's what draws you back. Like it's a hard thing to explain to somebody who hasn't actually done it, and it isn't fun. I'll be honest, it's not fun.
Do you run with them as well?
I don't run anymore. I have pretty bad knees. My grandmother, I think, gave me those from my genes, but I actually walk every morning while they're running. Okay. So I can go out and kind of see them. So that way I get to see them a few times during the places that we run at. And then on workout days, obviously, we run a lot of times at the soccer field, and I can see them there, so I don't walk while they're doing that. But
do you run in the afternoon as well? The teams?
Sometimes they do doubles.
I've seen them.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Sometimes we'll do double runs. So some of the guys mostly the guys will do a second run in the afternoon, but most of the time it's in the morning.
And do you usually run like Hollingsworth?
That's traditionally where we go during the weekdays, just because it's close and it's fairly safe to not crossing a lot of roads, and there's people there, so you're not like afraid someone's going to jump out of nowhere or something like that. But I try to tell them to not always go around because it's the same thing every day, and I want them to get some hills. So sometimes they'll run up into the neighborhoods that are up in that area. Sometimes they'll run over by the golf course. what's the name of the golf course over there?
Cleveland
Heights, yeah. There's a nice trail that goes around Cleveland Heights Golf Course that they can run around. On the weekends, we tend to travel to Circle B Bar Ranch or Holloway Park and do our longer run there. So they'll run like 15, 16 miles sometimes.
Gotta watch out for alligators over
Yeah, yep. I tell them if they see an alligator, don't try to jump over it. Just turn around and go the other direction. And they actually pretty much every weekend we see alligators, so it's pretty common.
Yeah. Well, I have a tremendous amount of respect. I'm sure I speak for Dr. Ingle as well for what your student athletes do. You know, it's just it is a sport, as you say. It's a really tough sport, and you're really competing against yourself, you know, many of the times out there. So, really respect your kids a lot. So you start off the season with a team win at the Fire Invite on the men's side, and the women came in second. Talk to us about some of those performances and how that set the tone for the rest of the season.
Well, first of all, I'll kind of explain a little bit how I look at our season. The first two meets are more of almost like scrimmages for us, and that's pretty much anybody at the that's trying to make it to the Nationals is kind of thinking that way, that you're not really trying to get your kids in super great shape until October, basically. So it was exciting for us to win that guys' race. Palm Beach Atlantic is a good team. They're not, you know, super wonderful or anything like that they're going to go win Nationals or anything like that, but they're a good enough team that it was a good race for us and a good push for us. And then we followed up the next weekend or 2 weekends after that, and they beat us there. So we're pretty close teams, I would say. And on the women's side, they're a very good team, actually. Palm Beach Atlantic's national qualifying D2 school from last year. So to be anywhere close to them was good for our women to be able to see kind of where they were at. And both races actually were very good, especially we followed up the next week at Kaiser. And that race actually was a 5K for our guys, so it was kind of fun for them to run a shorter distance and kind of be able to go out a little bit harder. But there was a lightning delay, and so we were sitting on the bus for an hour, and we were running out of daylight, so they basically put the kids on the line right after they let us go out and raced. And so they had no warm-up, basically, and we ran really well. We had, I think it was 10 guys under 17 minutes, which for a 5K is pretty good, and 2 of those guys were under 16 minutes. And our women all ran about what they were capable of running too for this time of the year.
So you're not going to let them warm up from the rest
that's
of the
kind of what I was actually meeting with one of my guys this morning. He goes, I think I might do that more often. And actually, he was one of the kids that broke 16 minutes. So
you're returning a lot of talented runners, including 6 top runners on the men's team. How does that impact, you know, the dynamic of the team?
Well, it makes it tougher for me. At some point, I have to choose who the top 7 are, and we have right now about 11, 12 guys that have a shot at being in the top 7, I would say. So it definitely is a good problem to have, because when you have depth on a cross-country team, you know, if somebody has a bad day, you can count on somebody else to make up for that, and that's a really nice thing as a coach to know that that's there. On the women's side, we don't necessarily have that right now, so it's a tougher thing for them. But it's definitely, I think, pushing the guys. They know that they have a lot of strong runners this year, and they know that they need to keep themselves healthy. So I see a lot more guys stretching than I probably ever have, and rolling out after workouts and going to see BJ to get treatments done if they're feeling aches or pains. So the focus is much greater because of that. And I think it's just a positive thing, honestly. It's what I've been kind of dreaming of with that team for a while. The women have been there for quite a while, and this year is kind of a drop-off for us. But the men have been gradually kind of building up to that point where we have this depth now, and it's a really exciting thing for me to see.
Well, speaking of the women's side, you lost a lot of top runners, including Julia Rome, but you've returned some talent, including Jillian Blazer and Sophie Robinson. How has their experience helped as you brought the younger runners along?
Well, the interesting thing is they're pretty young too. I mean, Jill is she's a junior, but she's still young in my eyes. She really has had a lot of spotlight because of being behind people like Julia and Emma Walger last year and some of the other girls that have left. So it's again, I think it's an exciting time for them to have these girls who were maybe my 7th, 6th, 8th, 9th, 10th girls, now my 1, 2, 3, 4 girls. And, you know, another girl that's running just really well right now, she's actually our top runner, is Grace Fetter, and she's been struggling with injuries every year, and we've finally figured out kind of how to have her train to keep her healthy. And she's just running really, really well as well. trying to think who else I'm missing here. I don't want to miss people's names, but they're a very tight group. They're very close in time, so it's a lot different than having a Julia who's running, 17s. These girls are all like 1845 to probably 1930, and you can do well with that. Like, it's just a different type of team atmosphere and how you race them, and we'll see how they can do when they get to the point where they're having a race to make it to nationals.
Yeah.
Now, I think you have a couple weeks before you head to the Royals cross country challenge, and that's in Charlotte. Correct? How do you prep the teams and motivate them to, especially during long periods between races? How do you handle that?
Well, that again, the way our season's laid out is that the first 2 meets we kind of just run through those, train pretty hard, and we just kind of see where we're at. And then the last 2 weeks, including this week, this is probably one of our hardest training blocks that we have right now. Is just a lot of mileage and a lot of hard workouts to prepare them for these last 2 meets before we get to our conference meet that are actually important meets. We run against teams that are ranked. A lot of NAI schools are there. And at the meet that we go to after the Royals Challenge, that's also a really good NAI meet with a lot of teams that will be ranked. And, they know that that's going to happen, that they have to be physically and ready mentally to go for those races. So we practice that in workouts to think about, what you're doing in races and how you're doing that in a workout's going to prepare you for a race. And I'm also constantly trying to tell them to think about, like, what you're doing and why you're doing it and how that's going to affect you in a race as well, because the mental part of running is probably almost as important as the physical part. And if they don't believe that they can run fast, they won't run fast. So that's a huge part of me coaching them, is to hopefully get them to that point where they believe in what they're doing and that they see the results because of that.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, we talk a lot about culture at Southeastern in the athletic department. What do you do to try and promote healthy culture in your team? Obviously, you need student athletes to buy into that culture. What's the framework that you've set up there?
I think it really comes down to who I have on my team. I don't take a lot of credit for what my kids are, and they're really good kids. And I do pray a lot. I mean, I say my biggest recruiting tool is prayer. I just pray that the Lord will bring in kids that will mesh well with the other kids that I have, that will love running and will want to work hard, and that will be able to do what they love to do and see results from it. And I've been really blessed to have some really, really, really talented runners, as well as some really, really good people. Yeah. And I let them kind of do what they do. There's people on my team who are just really gifted with ministry and with wanting to go into that area. There's other people that they want to be social workers, so they're really good with working with people who are going through hard times. We have nursing students who can maybe be a little more caring and stuff like that. And it just all meshes together really well to build that culture of having people that care about each other. Because, like I said, that's the biggest part about this team, is if we don't have that culture, no one's going to want to run. Yeah. It's just miserable.
Yeah.
So
and I see other teams who don't have that, and they're miserable. It's just they're getting a scholarship to do it, and that's why they're doing it. And my kids, I really feel like they love each other. They do it because they love each other, and they get to run a part of that. So,
like with all of our coaches, I think, recruiting is a huge part of it. And there's so much work that goes into, I'm sure there's some really good runners that you've got to just say no to because they just don't fit what you're looking for. And the discipline that takes to know that, hey, this kid could win us a national title, but he's just not a fit for who we are as a university or a program is really, I really commend you and a number of your colleagues. I mean, you all do that.
Right.
So that's really important. So thank you for paying attention to that.
Yeah, and thanks for coming in today and
Thank you.
And talking with us. I mean, you're an amazing coach, and we're grateful that you're here. I mean, last year you were Sun Conference Coach of the Year for the men's side. I think the year before, you Coach of the Year for the women's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, man, we're just grateful you're here. So thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
Having a conversation today.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Between work and to-do lists, Publix knows your time is absolutely valuable, so let them help you regain time in your day by delivering groceries right to your door. Learn more at Publix.com/shop.
I thought about this Instacart. I was in Denver, as I mentioned.
Okay.
I was having a little trouble with the altitude change, so I had some sinus stuff going on, and I'm like, well, there's no drugstore near here, so I'm just going to have to, battle it out. And then I'm like, oh, hang on a second. but I didn't think about it in time. All I need to do is just get an app,
Right,
have it
right,
delivered to the hotel.
Have it delivered.
But, I'm still old school and, just suffered through my trip there.
Well, now you know for the next trip you can what to do.
Yes, yes.
No, it's a great service, and of course we're always grateful for Publix and what they provide our community. Well, let's talk about some of the sports activities that have happened over the last week and get caught up. Football, man, coming off a tough overtime loss. I was watching parts of the game, and towards the end, they regained the lead. I think it was in the fourth quarter, and I thought, man, we're going to get this. And then I tuned out and came back, and tough loss.
Yeah, 16-13 overtime loss.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at the schedule early in the season, you're like, we have Savannah State home, and we've got 2 tough road trips to Reinhardt and Faulkner.
Yeah.
But this team really, and Coach Wall is doing a great job. But you've got a new offensive coordinator, you've got a new defensive coordinator, and so, it takes a little bit to gel sometimes.
Yep.
And sometimes you've got games that you're not supposed to win that you win, like Reinhardt.
Yep.
Sometimes you've got games you're supposed to win that you don't, and but I really appreciate Coach's message afterwards was, we got to get better. We just got to make better decisions, and we can't have our first touchdown come in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
We've got to take advantage of the opportunities that we're given. But this team is 2 plays from being 3-0. They're sitting at 1-2, heading into conference play. If they score from the 1 yard line against Savannah State, we probably win that game.
Right.
And just one play on Saturday would have had that game for us. So, a lot of good things ahead for this program.
Yeah, makes a difference. But, we have a home game coming up. It seems like it's been forever since we had a home game.
Yes.
It's been about 3 weeks?
Yeah, September 2nd was our home opener.
So we get to bring them back home to Victory Field, and they're going to be playing, Warner, which is really one of the strong Polk County rivals that we have here. And we always enjoy defeating Warner when we have a chance. And they're coming in for Saturday night.
They are. We've had traditional success against Warner. They were our first home opponent in program history. But Warner's got a 3-0 record, and they've been playing well. And I think it's going to be it's going to be a good game. I mean, we saw a good game on September 2nd in Savannah State. I think we as fans, and maybe I'll ask you this: would you rather a 44-7 win? Or a 23-20 win.
Exactly. You want the game exciting. You want it close.
Yes.
You want to right. So I'll take the closer.
And I think it'll be closer this year than it typically is with Warner. And one of our storied games in our history is that triple overtime win over Warner.
Right.
Ended at like 1:45 in the morning because of lightning delays.
All the delays, right?
Yeah. So it's a great rivalry, and we're looking forward to hosting the Royals here on Saturday night.
So come out Saturday night, 7 p.m. at Victory Field. Should be a great experience.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about women's soccer. They tied St. Thomas 0-0, and then turned around and beat Warner on the road 3-0, which is good.
Yep.
They're having a great start to the season.
Well, good results, as we talked about last week. 0-0 to St. Thomas. I thought we were unlucky in that game. There were some opportunities that we had that it just didn't go in the net. But the Warner win 3-0 on the road, it was a significant win because Warner tied St. Thomas 0. So, wow. I think this team's gaining momentum. And I think they're playing right at the right time of year.
Yeah, and they scored 3 goals within the first 37 minutes?
Yeah. It's Ariadna Lozano and Michaela Petticourt both scored their first goals of the year. Victoria Lederer scored her second. And so they're getting a lot of, this program used to be, we had Uche.
Right.
Phenomenal player playing for Nigeria now. But for years it was who's that one Southeastern player? But Coach Roberts says, he was here last week, but he's done a great job of making it a team effort.
Right.
So you've got contributions coming from all over, which makes it exciting to watch.
Yeah, no, that's great. They seem to be gelling at the right time.
Yeah,
it's exciting. So they have a new rule in place. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so soccer used to go, if you were tied at the end of regulation, you went 2 10-minute overtime periods. Well, now it's just a tie. It just ends. And I've had to get used to it. I've been watching soccer for years, and okay, let's go. Let's get it. The golden goal. The overtime sudden death goal. but it's not like that way anymore. So it just ends.
What
And
prompted that?
I think they just felt like, they and soccer coaches generally don't like it. Our soccer coaches don't like it.
Okay.
But I think the coaches felt like, a lot of times you're playing those 10 minutes and it ends in a tie anyway. So why do it? Now, I'd say do anything to avoid ending in a tie.
Yeah.
But it used to end in a regular season. So the only time it goes to PKs is in the postseason.
Yeah.
And so I hope they revert back to what it used to be. But at this point, we've got to take ties right at the end of regulation.
Yeah. Let's talk about men's soccer. We beat Warner last weekend 3-2, and we tied Kaiser 1-1. Yes, that was yesterday.
Yeah.
And in the game that was picked up, it was suspended.
Yeah, it was suspended because of lightning.
I hear they're receiving votes now, national polls.
Yeah.
What do we have?
Yeah, well, we've got a men's soccer team that's 4-1-2, and so we're receiving votes in this week's poll, moving up. I think that's a little discouraging to the team because they had a tie against number 12. They lost, in essence, a 1-0 game to the number 3 team in the country, St. Thomas, last Wednesday.
Okay.
So playing really good soccer, but not necessarily getting the recognition nationally. So they just need to hang in there. But I think we've got some clips of our 3 goals against Warner.
Let's see them.
Seems to be Warner week.
Oh, I know. I love this.
So we got Victor Cavalcante with a nice left here, right past the keeper. Rocket there. And then we've got Ridwane Bukra is our next.
You got to add that. He scored!
Goal!
You got to add that. You got to add that to the.
And here's Victor again. Goal! I've got to say goal for like 3 minutes.
Exactly.
So
there
we're
you
running
go.
out of time here. So.
No, that's awesome. Excited about what they're doing, and
they're actually playing right now.
Oh, that's right.
They're playing at Florida Memorial.
Okay.
And
what's the score?
It's 1-0 Lions.
Okay.
Now the Lions are a much better team. They brought in the coach at Central Methodist, who's a national championship caliber coach. They brought him to Miami, and so he's gotten that program really moving in the right direction. But it's 1-0, 36 minutes left in the second half.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, hopefully we can pull out a fire win. Let's talk about volleyball. They're 10-3 on the season. I know they just had a loss. I happened to go to it, but they played extremely well and lost to St. Thomas 3-1. So, yeah, excited about their season and where they're headed. And I think they play Warner tonight, actually.
They do. And St. Thomas is a good team. I mean, they're receiving votes in the national poll. But that match was, we kind of came out, I think, tight in the first set. Lost 25-14, but took the second 25-23, and then lost the last 2 21 and 22. So, this was a competitive match. It didn't turn out the way we wanted to, but Warner, as you said, Warner tonight. And
what else? Who else are they playing this next week?
I have not looked at that. Oh, Kaiser. I'm sorry. They play Kaiser 2:00 on Saturday. So that's a road match. All right. So they're going to go to Kaiser, and Kaiser had a great year last year. And so not a lot of bad teams in this volleyball conference.
No, they're looking sharp, all of them. But, exciting to see their season so far.
And the team, I'll say this, the team honored Coach Goldsberry after that match on Saturday.
They had a lot of alums
the alums came back, and there were plenty of tears to go around, and just celebrating her career here, and just a really special time.
Yeah, it was great to be there for that game on Saturday. Let's move to golf. We opened the season this week, right?
Yeah, men's and women's played at Innisbrook. The men struggled. They finished 11th. Matthew Sosanek led the way, finishing 18th. But the women, I watched them at Nationals last year, went out to Illinois, and they seem to get better as the tournament goes on. And that happened this past week as well. They shot a tournament best 291 on the final day, with Madeline Campbell finishing 12th overall. So, just getting that season up and going, and we're excited that golf's back at it.
That's awesome. Are we home links still at Grasslands?
Yes. Yeah, excellent. Over there in your backyard.
Yep. Great course. So glad we're able to utilize that. Well, that wraps up for today. Thanks for all of you joining us. As we close the show, I want to remind you to come out to, again, our home games this week. We have 2 matches tonight as volleyball hosts Warner and women's soccer hosts Florida Memorial. That both of those games are at 7. On Saturday, again, men's soccer hosts Weber at 1 p.m. and our fire football team starts conference play. First conference team up, Warner. And that'll be at 7 p.m. as well. Make sure you visit SCUfire.com for the latest news in fire athletics. You can also find the event calendar there as well, and always have it'll have links to watch all of our home games. So make sure you click onto that and have a chance to see them in action. But we're excited about all the competition this week, and we're wishing all of our teams luck as they move into give their best at what they do. So
absolutely,
yeah, excited.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Go Fire.
Yep, go Fire. Take care.